Well, first of all, welcome to my office. I am an associate professor of education here in the Patton College of Education. My name is Theresa Dawahare, and I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a teacher. I am a leader, hopefully, of hope and great love. And I'm a grandmother. And that's who I am.
It's a lot of roles.
Lots of roles, yes.
And I wonder, when you were a little girl, right? What was the dream then? When you were a kid, what did you want to do or be?
When I was a little girl, I grew up with 4 other siblings, and we lived in a neighborhood with a lot of children. And so my day started out with baby dolls. And so I had my own, diaper bag and had my own doll that I slept with. And that was probably till the age of 7 that I took care of this baby. And then at the age of 7, I received a real baby. My parents got pregnant later in life and had my little sister Bernadetta. And so I had my own baby to take care of. And so Bernadetta, I remember when she was born, I remember a lot of tears. And I remember everyone was excited about a baby, but for some reason there was a little bit of sadness. And I didn't understand why there was sadness, because she was beautiful. And she looked at me and gooed and so I thought, what's going on? And then I realized that my little sister was born with Down syndrome, which, for those of our students that don't understand what that is, she was mentally retarded. And I didn't see it, but I knew that seeing other people in the community, I knew what it looked like as far as the physical features. But I tell you, from the time that she was born until today, Bernadetta is the reason that I teach. And I get kind of emotional about it, because I think all the students in education have someone or something that brought them to their course of study. And so in Education 101 and 100, they have me first. And so that's one of the questions I ask. Who brought you to the seat that you're in right now? And what is your philosophy of education? And so they write pages about the people that inspired them, the people that had a great impact them, whether it would be negative or positive. And then I have them do the same paper when they're seniors. And it's funny to see the transpiration of that. They go from, these people were inspirations. Now, yes, they were inspirations, but now I've come so much further. And so now my cooperating teacher and my professors and people that I've met on campus, lots of different people have inspired them to be who they are. But really, when I was a little girl, it was Bernadetta. It was wanting to change the view of Down syndrome to the community, and wanting to answer questions. Getting in an elevator with someone with B, I call her B lovingly, so yeah, the rest of the video I'm just going to say B, and people looking at her like they do, and I would say, Bernadetta, say hi, or this is Bernadetta, and answering questions like, why does she look the way she does? Or, why is she a little bit heavier, or just the slant of her eyes, or, anything about B. And so I share that with my students in 101 right off the bat. And I don't think it's fair to give a student an assignment that you don't also share in that assignment. So I, give them my philosophy of education. And I start out with who inspired me. And of course, B's not the only one that made me want to be a teacher. I have a long list of teachers in my family. And really, I was raised in the Catholic faith. And so we always, thought that the first teacher was Jesus. And so I try very hard to follow his word. And I have a great devotion to Mother Teresa. And so she is one of my inspirations for being a teacher, because she taught so many people. And it didn't matter where they were or where they came from. She was awesome. So, yeah.
A dream job. Would you say that there's a dream job out there for you? Or what is your dream job?
I think that I am presently in my dream job. And that's not, I'm not being like, I really do. I think that years ago, my husband and I settled in Louisville because I went to a college there in Louisville, and I taught in special ed. And I did that for 2 years, and it was awesome, and great things came from that experience. Being in urban Louisville, and then being, like in the throngs of downtown Louisville, it was a great experience. But then my husband's job brought us to Pikeville. And so I had my dream job at St. Francis of Assisi. And I taught kindergarten for 12 years. I taught 3rd and 4th grade. I taught music. I was principal. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time of my life. But I think that when I left St. Francis and came onto the hill, I think that my children were all those ages of college students, and I was answering questions for my own children and going through their experiences, and I thought, yeah, I think I found my home. And so when I came to the university, I started out teaching developmental education, reading, and I only had freshmen. And it was amazing, because they had never experienced having, a professor or having someone in college and being away from home. And so they not only were in my class, but they were always in my office. And so I love that. But I think my home was still in education. And so I talked to our department chair at the time, and I was like, I'd really love to teach a class in education. And so Shirley Nelson was great, and she had 3 students that were needing a program in education, and she needed someone to teach those 3 students. And I said, okay, I'll do it. So I taught all their classes, classroom management and curriculum and assessment, and we were together every day. And I even went out and observed them for student teaching. Loved it, just loved it. Met all the teachers in the county and the city schools that I had not met because I had been in a private, institution. So it was fun. And from que sera, sera. Now I'm 100% in the Patton College of Education. I still teach those classes, but I teach them to a lot more than 3. And I also teach that intro to education, which I think is amazing. So yeah, still have my freshmen, so it's great.
Did anything in life happen? Well, I know you talk about the dramatic, beautiful role of B. Did anything else in life that happened to spur you on the path of education, being an educator?
I think the only other thing that really spurred me this way is that I think I was a born teacher. I think I was someone who could explain process really well, and I was more of a reflective person than a reactive person, and I think in teaching you have to be reflective. And so I think that I also had this sense of before I would say anything to my children, I would always kind of digest what they said and then give them what I thought to be the answer. But I think I've always had that in my being, that I was going to be somebody who wanted to inspire others to be better than, or to be what they wanted to be. But honestly, and I'm going to get choked up again, but I think my husband, you know, he's always inspired me to do what I wanted to do, and he's always been that source behind me, pushing me. And so I think that after we started dating, and I was still at Bellarmine in Louisville, I think that he was a big source of that. Yeah, you could do this, you could do this. But that came, you know, later in life. I just really think that my inspiration early in life was my little sister. You know, she always has been that source of inspiration, and still is today. You know, we went to dinner last night, and B just makes me laugh. She's 48 years old, and she's set in her ways, and sometimes I try to teach her something new, but you know that phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, yeah, you can't teach B new tricks. B always reverts back to the way she is. But I think definitely my husband, but my aunt and uncle were also very instrumental. They taught in Louisville, and of course I was there at school, so they would always have me for dinner when I was in school there. And they both retired, and one taught Spanish and history, the other was an English teacher at the same school for 30 years, and never ever went to work. She always stressed that. Aunt Tish was always like, you know, I don't ever go to work. It's fun. I love being with students, and I am teaching my craft, and I know my craft. And so she was a big inspiration to me also. Yeah.
I know it's really hard to think about your whole life and
Yeah.
kind of try to summarize some things, but if you could in a sentence, how would you define your call in life?
Wow. One sentence. My call in life is to help others be all they can be, to be kind, to be loving, to be an inspiration to others, and ultimately to bring everyone to heaven someday. I really think that that's probably would sum up my life. You know, just to help as any way that I can. And I think that in the role that we're in for college, I think we do that. I think our students do come to us in times of need and in times of joy and sadness. And I think that we're there to push them on. But we have to be present for them. I can't help my student if I'm at home. I mean, they can message me, and many do, and I'm pretty quick to respond, I think. But I think being present here on the campus and having them know that the door is open and that Mrs. Dawahare will try to help me get through this time, I think that that is one of the biggest callings that I have. Right now, in this, and I don't really call it a job, you know, this is my mission. Everyone has their mission. And right now, my mission is to the students at the University of Pikeville. And, you know, there are other missions that I have, Rob. You know, someday my mission will be to spend more time with my grandchildren. But I think even today, my grandchildren know that that, you know, Nan has a job, not a job, a mission somewhere else right now. But we still Skype every day, and they still get to have me every now and then. So
You've obviously been a really inspirational person to a lot of people, right? And probably the list is so long you don't even recognize, right? But other people have also inspired you. Other people have, you know, you talked about obviously be and your aunt and uncle. Has there been anybody else? I mean, you talked about your husband. Has there been anybody else who's really inspired you or been really influential to say, now I know my design, my call in life?
Well, I think that things that happen in our life make us realize that that's our call. You know, I think having children and going through all the different phases that children go through, I think that kind of validates our life and what we do. I think that things that we go through, whether they're good or they're bad, definitely call us to do what we do every day. And so I think that, you know, the thought that I have about even teaching and being here is that everybody goes through them. And to think that everything's rose color all the time, it's not. You know, I've been through so many hard times. And really, you know, talking to my husband just last night, we were just like one of those moments where you just look at each other and go, God, you know, we've been through 5 children. We've been through moving to Pikeville. We've been through a death of, you know, your mom. And we've been through things with our children with broken bones and cuts and scrapes and scary times, you know. Delivering my last child, you know, there was a chance that I wouldn't be here. And so we've been through really hard times, but there's always been that hope and prayer that things would get better. And I think that that's one of the inspirations for me, is that to know that when I pray, I don't pray like, I want it now, I need it now. I'm like, I know you're going to help me, but could you show me soon? You know, because I think that we do get into some dark places sometimes, but we have to reach out and we have to, you know, cling to those things that are great. And then on the other side, you realize that, wow, this is where God wanted me to be. And it just wasn't my time yet. But I do think everybody comes to a realization sometime in their life that they realize that all the things that have happened in my life happened for a reason, and it brought us to where we are today. You know, in 101, and I don't want to give this away to all my students, but you're going to hear about this, and you could talk to any senior who's had me, but we always talk about the tunnel, and there's a pipeline that runs under the Presbyterian Church, and it is connected, you know, there's, I don't know, like 30 joints. And so being a youth leader, we take our students to the pipeline and we have them walk to the end. And they go way back in there, it's really, really dark. And we leave them in the back. And then my husband and I walk out to the increments of where that it joins together, and we say, okay, so every joint is 3 years of your life. And so they start in the back, and we walk out and we stand, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And we say, well, this is life. You are, you know, don't be disrespected by this, but you're babies. You know, you've gone through things and you think they're horrible and you think they're awful, but you have no clue what you're about to go through. But, you know, you don't put your finger in fire because the fire will burn you. You don't do it again. So you learn from what's happened, but you keep forward. And so it's pretty cool because in the back, you can't see anything, but if you turn and face the opening of the tunnel, you see the light. And so we're all headed toward that light. And there are things that are going to happen. And so we stand further up and we say, you know, we're closer to that light than you are. So make the best of that, you know, that gray area in there and make it every day a new day. And so we talk about the things that happened to us further back in the tunnel, but it made us who we are. And it helped us develop why we're supposed to be here. and what our role is in this life. And so I think we all get to those different places at different times, but hopefully we all reach the light, which to me would be, you know, being a youth minister, you know, it's heaven in the end. And so whatever that light is for you, then that's what you strive for. But on the way, you want to grab people because you don't want to do it alone, you know. So that's Rusty Justice. He's such a great friend, but he's the one that introduced us to that tunnel years ago. And he's very philosophical and, you know, has lots to share. And so we thought, you know, Harry Wong, who is a classic classroom management, I guess he's a philosopher for sure, but he's also an educator. He says beg, borrow, and steal. So anything that I hear from other people that I love, I just steal it. You know, I give them credit, but I use it because it's great stuff. So,
if someone were watching this video today and they said, oh, you are living the life I want, like, yes. What did you do to position yourself where you're at now?
Oh, gosh. I think surrounding yourself with people who believe in you. You know, honestly, I think every time I feel like, oh, I just can't do, you know, I can't do this, it's a lot of, I think that I'd seek counsel. And that's I know it's really hard sometimes because people think that, well, gosh, if you go talk to somebody or you seek out advice from someone, then you don't, I don't know, you're not complete or something. I don't know, kind of broken. But I think we're all broken, and so I just seek out counsel. You know, I'll talk to Father Rob, or I'll talk to Frank, or I'll talk to one of my friends, or I'll you know, whoever it is that I feel comfortable sharing with, and they always give me that inspiration that I hope I'm giving to other people. Yeah, I mean, I hope that answered your question, but I do think that in order to go on every day and be in the position I'm in, you have to surround yourself with people who help you in that position. And so I tell my students all the time, I said, you know, reach out, you know, put yourself out there and meet people, because you never know when those people are going to be able to help you, you know. So hopefully, you know, if we're helping Rob, our students, then maybe someday they're going to be in our position and help other people. But yeah, there are a lot of people who have helped me in the position I'm in right now. And I do give a lot of credit to, you know, our past dean. You know, I think Tom Hess is amazing, and he definitely helped, and all the people in education surely have. But I think students, most than anything, I think the students definitely keep us going and bring us back every year. And we have a great director of our Patton College, you know, she's department chair, and Coletta is wonderful, and she's very encouraging, and she's really an inspiration to me now at my age. I do look to her because she is so knowledgeable, and I always wake up every morning and go, oh my gosh, I need to know more. I need to watch her. But I want to share this because yesterday in our Gen Ed meeting, I made a comment, and I said at the end of the meeting, I just kind of looked out at everybody and went, I just love our family. And they were like, oh gosh, here she goes, you know. But I really feel like that. You know, we've been together, we've been through thick and thin, we've gone through this, you know, excruciating change of general education, and I feel like we're on the other side. You know, like we've gone over the rainbow, and I just, even the students that are seniors have said, have you noticed, like, the campus is just calm. And it's a good place to be. You know, the university is booming. You know, we have more students we've ever had. Our town is growing, and I think the students are just happier. And I owe, you know, a lot to all of the professors and staff members and the people behind the scenes that get things done, but it's a really nice place to be. You know, it really is. I don't come to work and think, there's that word, work. I don't come to work and think, oh, I've got to go. I really love being here, and I love the students. There's nothing better than having one of them, one of the students in first year, in 101 yesterday, we were walking in the hall and someone was helping me carry all my stuff. And one of the boys, he looked at me and he goes, Mrs. Dawahare, you never know what you're going to get. And I love that from Forrest Gump. You know, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And I enjoyed that. I said, I'm going to take that with me all day because I think that's the way we need to be. It's just, you never know. I mean, you have some idea, but hopefully they'll keep me around a little bit longer. My mission isn't finished yet. So, yeah.
You are incredibly student-centered and focused. Therefore, you have been so active in the lives of many, many people. And as you're having these conversations or one-off encounters in hallways and things, when a student comes to you and says, I just have no idea, honestly, you know, I see these other people with very clear senses of what they're going to do or be, and I have no idea. What advice do you have for a student like that?
I have had that happen lots. And we actually kind of go through it. I have a whole conversation that I have when students come. And it's not something that's planned, but I do have really driven questions. Like, what have you enjoyed doing all your life? You know, what did you do in high school that made you happy? And do you like to be with people? You know, I did this thing with the football team at the beginning of the year because Coletta has kind of put me in charge of recruiting, you know, and recruiting doesn't mean you're just pulling in new people. It means that you're helping those students that are indecisive or, you know, make a decision. And so I went in and I said, do you like to be with children? And they're like, oh, I don't like to be with children. I said, do you like to be with little children that you wipe their nose, or do you like to be with larger, you know, people? And so I had them think about that. And then I say, are you a good listener? Because there are so many positions where you have to be a good listener. And teaching, you have to. Students don't really need to know everything that you want to say, but they do need to know that you're listening to them. And so I always say that to them. And then I say, are you organized? And of course, a lot of them say, well, I'm really not that organized. I said, but are you organized with your piles? Like, you can be crazy. You know, I just think about some of the professors here, and, you know, you walk in and there's like piles here, piles, but they are organized in their own way. And so their piles are their organized piles. They know where everything is. And so I always say that to them about teaching. You know, you want to make sure your piles are organized, because students do not like to hear, well, I just can't find that paper. You know, that is excruciatingly hard for students to hear. And so you have to be organized. And then I say to them, you know, like, what brings you the most joy? What is a position that you think that you could do that you'd want to go to every day and it wouldn't be work? And so those are some of the questions that I ask them. I ask them a lot of questions about where they're from. You know, what's their atmosphere that they've lived in all their life? Did they live with a large family? Did they share things, you know? And little by little, we figure out what they want to do. And if they don't, I always say, you're a freshman. Take your gen eds. Let's get you on the right track if you want to do this. And then we'll figure it out. You know, we'll have another discussion. So let's make an appointment and we'll meet back at this time and you tell me how things are going. Because some of them don't know. I mean, they take biology and they think it's going to be horrible, and then all of a sudden they're going to be a biology teacher. It's really cool to watch. But yeah, I guess that's my answer. It's just opening up the discussion, finding out what they're interested in, and being a really good listener, and then trying to decipher it. A lot of times we do pros and cons, you know, that kind of thing. But things that they say, oh yeah, I've done that. Well, no, they really haven't. They haven't written it down. They haven't really looked about it. And then I say, pray. You know, he really does listen. You know, just pray for the answer.